Let's make sure. Oh, there we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Hillcrest Live. We've got Noah here today. We're going to be going over some of the shots that we've been discussing over the past week and a half. And Noah's step is your swing. We're going to be discussing the overhead and the footwork that's involved with that. And then we'll be going over the serve, the first and the second serve. So with that, we're going to get started and we're going to let Noah take it away.
Nice. Yeah. So first, just ready position, nice and simple, and then Hadley will start feeding to me. So split step. Notice that I'm just stepping across, and I'm not swinging with my arm, and that my feet are actually moving. So I turn my shoulders, and I step to the ball.
Notice the split as I hit, and then you move to contact with the space.
And my racket is never too far away or too close. It's nice and centered with my body. Okay, and then we'll go to the backhand side and the same type of idea. Ready position, split step, turn your shoulders and step across. Again, nothing too fancy with the arm.
Notice the shape of his racket. It's up. His racket tip is up, and it's not pointing down.
Yeah, I don't start here or over here. It's always up so I can move through the ball. Again, just turning shoulders.
Let's talk about low volley.
Okay, and then so lower volleys, you're not going to want to bend with your back. That's why you split step, so you can bend your legs, because a lot of the power comes from your legs, and that's where you can scoop under it and get better reach. And because it's a lower ball, you can't angle your racket downward. The trajectory of the ball is going to be going up, so you want to make sure your racket faces up. And same idea on the forehand, just keep it low, rack it up. We'll do a couple over here. Just like that.
Awesome.
Okay, so now we're going to be doing overheads. Basically, same thing, split step ready position. You're going to turn your shoulders away from you don't want to sit here facing the ball. You're going to turn away from the ball, arm up in there so you can find the ball, and then this is kind of called trophy position. And then from there, kind of just swing like a serve, finish on the opposite side of your body. You're good.
Notice his extension and where he's making contact. He's reaching up and hitting the highest point. Notice his first step is a turn, and he's over the shoulder. Nice.
So yeah, just simple split step, turn your shoulders, find the ball, and then come around it and move in and out of the court so you're not just standing locked-kneed waiting for it.
Very good. Okay.
So now we'll move on to some serve basics.
Okay. So I think the big thing that we've been discussing in a lot of our clinics is really making sure that the toss is in the correct spot. I think Noah would agree that typically a lot of people, they either have a too high of a toss or too low of a toss. We really want it so that your racket is only as high as the toss should only be as high as your racket is extended. It really shouldn't be any higher than that. Because if it comes up too high, then the ball always hits a certain spot and then it starts to drop. If the toss is too high, then now we're hitting it as the ball is dropping as it's coming down too fast. So then we tend to hit it here.
And that's where you can make it go long or shoot really far.
Perfect, because the racket you're making contact here.
Yeah. So along with what Hadley's saying with the positioning of your toss being too high or too low, you also want to make sure it's not too far to one side or the other side, because then you're going to be off balance. And if I'm leaning this way hitting my serve, the ball will carry that way. And then if I'm leaning kind of out towards Hadley, I'm chasing the ball in the opposite direction and I'm not on balance for it to go into the right spot.
Right. And you're typically wanting to make sure that you're ending up, if this is the baseline here, you're just like what Noah was saying, you're not wanting to end up behind it or going off to the side. You really want to make sure that you're ending up in front of that. Your body momentum is moving into the serve, so over the line. And that way, now you're not just using your arm, you're using your whole body into your serve.
And along with your body into your legs. So like on the volleys when we were reaching low, and on your overheads where you're moving back, you want to squat with your legs because you're going to get a little bit of power from that too.
Yeah, exactly. And, going along with what Noah was saying with your toss not, being too far to the left or right, if you're too far to the right, then you're starting to use too much of your shoulder here. And so it puts strain. So you have kind of that slot machine motion that's really it doesn't give you that racket head speed that you're looking for when you make contact with the ball. It's if you're looking at a clock for right-handers, you're looking at somewhere between 12 and 1 o'clock. You don't want to get any further than that to the right or left of that clock. So now along with that, we want to talk about racket head speed. So if the slower you swing, the more your racket kind of drags behind. So you really want to make sure that racket accelerates through the point of contact. The quicker your racket can come through, the more that ball is going to drop down to the court because you get it to drop at a faster rate.
Yeah, and then along with the quicker racket speed, your take back doesn't really judge how fast you're going to serve the ball. So I can take it back as fast as I want, but all your power is going to come from this point through the ball. So you can go as slow as you want here or as fast as you want here, and it's really not going to make a difference up here.
Yeah, exactly. So one drill that I really like to do is what they term wristers. So you really want to start nice and loose with your wrist, and it really isolates the racket head speed. So you kind of start down here, and you're looking for height, and you're trying to get that height and that sound so your racket can come through at a faster rate. And along with that, if you kneel down and you take your lower body out of it, it really teaches you that you have to swing up and get the racket head speed to come through. If you have anything to say about that.
Yeah, no, that's a good drill, because then you can realize that you still can get a lot of power without using your legs, but it's also teaching you when you're down here and coming ball. If you toss, you don't want to be chasing it on your legs because it's super uncomfortable. So if I toss over here, it's going to feel extremely awkward to get to it. If I toss too far in front, I can't reach that. But if I toss right where it's supposed to be, in the ground, it'll be much more of a fluid motion than if you're leaning side to side. Yeah, so I guess I can show a little bit of my serve. We're just going to serve from the service line, that way we don't get our camera set up. But I have a fairly slow take back just because when I bounce the ball, I set my feet and then I just go back and I go through the ball. It's nice and slow. I like it that way because I'm on balance the entire time. I get to my point up here, and then from here, like Hallie was saying, with that racket head speed, that's where you're just going to carry through it.
And for me, I really like to, if you notice when Noah, loads his body weight, if you're going too fast here, it doesn't allow you to kind of gather your momentum. So, if you're a little bit slower on that take back, it really allows you to you're loading so that you can unload. So you load and gather and then you go. So if you're too fast, then everything comes up together all at the same time. So then you lose all of that momentum that you want. So you want to make sure that you're loading, then hit, and then now you load here. So weight transfer, load, and then you go. And that will help your body weight going into your serve, and then also helps your rapid hit speed. So, okay. We've got a little bit of time. I think let's go over some forehand stuff. If you guys have any questions, feel free to type them here in the comments or shoot us a text or a phone call later on. We'd love to clarify if you have any questions. Okay, so we're going to we'll go over the forehand and the backhand ground stroke. We'll just be talking about your contact point and where you need to be. And then also, we'll talk about the kind of the closed stance versus an open stance a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll come up a little closer. Volley, but then forehand position, same type of thing, ready position. Split step. You're going to turn your shoulders again. This would be closed stance because I'm closed off to the ball. Notice how my racket is at head and shoulder length. And then I'm going to drop down into the contact point, and then I'm going to finish over my shoulder and through the ball. If you're doing it correctly in like a rally, your right foot will come around. That's showing that you're actually moving through the ball with your body. Another thing with that, to keep it simple, is I like to call it a C motion, kind of like high to low, back up to high. And then same thing on the backhand side, ready position, turn your shoulders. Again, closed off to the ball. This is closed stance. I have my racket up high, swing into contact, and then carry through back over my shoulder.
And I think the big thing kind of going along, we had talked about the 5 components of the shot, like the split, the see the ball, turn, move, hit, recover. A lot of this technique, whether it's the volley, the overhead, or the ground stroke, I really think that 5-shot component, seeing the ball so that you can get turned early, and then you're moving to make sure that you're in position to hit the correct shot.
And then after you hit that shot, you want to recover, because I don't want to hit and watch my ball, because if I'm watching the ball, that allows my opponent more time to get me on a wrong foot and then win the point.
Right. And I have found, like, if I'm not in position to hit the correct shot, I'm always a step behind, or I'm not hitting to the right spot, and therefore my opponent can kind of capitalize on.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're losing ground as they're gaining.
Right. Right. And so, in regards to how it applies to a lot of match play situations and clinics, we're constantly working on making sure that you're turning, you're moving to the ball, and then you're hitting in the correct spot. Because a lot of times, if we're not turning and we're not moving into position, that means you're going to be either early, you're going to be late, and then, like we said, you can't hit to your correct spot, and therefore you become inconsistent. And so these are really important concepts to make sure that you have down, because then your consistency level goes up. And then, like we talked about last week, we talked about how a point is won between 0 and 4 shots that are made, and 90% of our points are won within those 0 to 4 shots.
Yeah, because a lot of times you just feel the need to smack the ball, and it's just really simple errors that you end up making.
Right.
In the end.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay. So I think we'll end right there. But we just wanted to kind of show you a few simple, basic techniques that I think are super fundamental to our tennis game. And it will, if you can master those, or if you can start establishing a strong foundation for those, I think I think it will help your tennis game across the board. You'll start to see results in your matches, and you'll have a better practice.
Yeah.
But I think that's about it. So, okay. And so let us know if you guys have any questions. Yesterday we had a little bit of technical difficulties. For some reason it had cut off early for us. So I just wanted to kind of cover a little bit about, we had talked about yesterday the mental and the emotional components of a well-rounded tennis player. And I think it cut off right around talking about the mental aspect of the game, and we kind of I was discussing like having kind of a higher emotional IQ, discussing that if our emotions get the best of us, then we start making poor decisions. We start making unforced errors that are unnecessary, and then it affects our self-confidence.
And then another thing with what she's saying about like making the errors, or say someone calls a bad, like Hadley calls the ball out that I thought was in. If I blow up about that and Hadley's a more mentally strong player than I am, she's going to sit there and go, okay, like I have Noah frustrated. Let's just see if I can get him more frustrated. And then I could lose the entire match just based on not mentally being there, where she's just basically playing with my mental game, which I speak from experience because I've done that with kids. Like in high school, you can watch a kid start to get frustrated, and then I just keep doing the same thing I'm doing. Not like cheating, but like say he doesn't like his forehand or is having an off day. I'll just use that forehand over and over, and he'll slowly it just destroys his self-confidence. And I just like, you self-destruct as a player if you don't have it mentally together.
That's perfect. Yeah, well said. And then things start, anything, and I'm speaking from experience as well, any little thing will just set you off,
Yep.
and and so we discussed that part of the mental aspect, and then we also talked about kind of the environmental, like, are you indoors, are you outdoors, how does that affect your style of play,
serving into the sun or not in the sun.
Yeah, the wind, those kinds of environmental effects. And I think a lot of people, they get frustrated. It's like, well, I play better indoors. Well, everybody does, because
yeah, exactly. So if you like to play indoors, most likely your opponent will like to play indoors. So you're just going to play better tennis indoors than outdoors. So you got to understand that, like, when you're playing outdoors, you're all in the same environment. It's just a matter of who can manage it the best.
Right.
So yeah.
No, exactly. And indoors the ball flies a little bit faster because there are no elements, and typically the courts are a little bit faster indoors, at least in my experience. Outdoors you have the elements, it's a little bit slower ball, and then also court surfaces. Some courts have more sand. If you're talking hard court, some courts have more sand, so they're a little bit slower than other courts. And so, you just have to make those adjustments. And that's part of being mentally tough, is being able to adapt when you have to, based on based on the environment.
Yeah.
But
no, I agree. Like if you ever play a match and you have an opponent be like, oh man, it's outside, you can just be like, oh, I love outside. And then they're sitting there going, oh man, like they really like playing outside. And you don't even have to like playing outside. It's just a matter of like not letting your opponent know your weaknesses.
Right, exactly. And it's I remember specifically a time in college that we were supposed to be playing outdoors. It was at our regional tournament, so there were like 300 players in the draw, and we, like, overall, like singles, doubles, and then also the consolation. So there were tons of players playing, and we played through the night because we couldn't play outdoor. And so I played a match at 3:00 in the morning because all of the courts were so backed up. But we played doubles, or I was playing doubles, and our opponents were so frustrated and they're so tired. But we were like, oh, we'll feed off of that. We know that they're not wanting to be here, so we'll feed off of it, and we did. And so anyway, those kinds of things where we have to just be flexible, and we have to have that mental toughness.
Yeah.
So Anyway, okay, well, we'll end there, but thank you so much for joining us, and we're gonna have Noah join us a little bit more. He does a great job. And have a wonderful day. Come down and play some tennis. It should be really nice this weekend. Let us know if you need anything, and we'll have a great day. Bye. Cool.
Nice.